This Ed Byrne interview is one of the first interviews I ever did, which is probably why I look like a poor insurance salesman. If you like this Ed Byrne interview, then please do subscribe to my channel. Really big Back to the Future fan.
Do you have a problem with my routine with Back to the Future?
I've got a bit of a problem with that because I love it. I've seen it probably over 100 times. I've probably seen all of them something like 100 times.
Even the third one?
Not number 3. Probably that's probably about 30.
Yeah.
But the other two probably about 100 each. It's really sad, I know. But you don't like Back to the Future.
It's not what I enjoyed it when I first saw it, certainly, and I only really enjoyed the first one, and the second and third were a bit much. And I think particularly the second one, it was this notion that suddenly everyone in Marty McFly's family looked exactly like Marty McFly, which I thought was a little odd.
Yeah.
He has a brother. He doesn't look exactly like his dad. But suddenly in the later ones, all of his aunts, all of his offspring, all of his people,
they're all him.
They're all him.
Yeah.
That seems a little weird.
That's kind of creepy.
I wonder if there was some time traveling shenanigans went on that made him his own father. Is what I'm thinking. If he looks that much like himself. The issue I have with Back to the Future, one thing I've always enjoyed doing, I don't really want to give away the jokes or anything like that, but it's the fact that his parents would have recognised him as essentially is the punchline. His parents, they met him, they spent a week with him, and then, only 16 years later, he'll have been born, and he'll have been at an age. Look, he got born, what? A few years later, and then a few years after that, then he's like 15, 16. So, within 20 years, they're going to see what he looks like exactly as he was when they met him, and spent a week with him, and calls them to get married. You'd remember. So why don't they recognise him?
You remember a guy who would get you and your partner together, wouldn't you?
Exactly. If you say, I remember the guy who introduced me to my wife, and I will always remember him. And if suddenly my son is the spitting image of him, I'm gonna get a bit suspicious. So I think it's one of those things that I've always enjoyed doing, is picking holes in things that are perceived to be good, things that people don't notice. They're my favourite routines are ones where people go, you know what, I've seen the film a million times and it never occurred to me, or when other comics will go, I can't believe that's been staring us all in the face all this time, and you're the only person to have said it. I feel very pleased with myself with things like that.
You're making me think again about my allegiance to Back to the Future, being such a big fan. Actually, I didn't notice that.
It's a burden. It's a burden when you have these things ruined because of your own pickiness. I don't know if you've ever watched a TV show called Chuck.
I love Chuck.
You love Chuck?
I love Chuck.
Well, okay, here's my thing with
Chuck. Oh no,
Chuck.
you're not going to pick Chuck.
I am, and we were just watching it here just last night.
Go on, I saw the episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
How come, right, he's downloaded this intersect into his brain.
Yeah.
We're now on to episode 19 of 22 of the second series. So he downloaded this thing in his brain 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Okay. So how come it's up to date with information?
How come it's up to date?
Yeah, how come how is it up to date? How is things that have just happened, that are just happening now, are in his head?
Aren't they all old?
Well, no, they're not, because he'd say, oh, this guy, he's apparently, he's about to release a virus. That was it. That was the whole thing. He's about to release a virus with this new operating system. This new operating is just about to release now. You found out 2 years ago they knew that this was what. You know what I mean? Is he got software updates? Is he downloading patches?
Does he sleep on a USB thing?
Exactly.
Plugged into his head?
How come he's up to date and current with all his spy information if it was downloaded into his head 2 years ago? The problem with Chuck is it's not a famous enough show, not enough people watch it for me to actually start making fun of it. Maybe if it shifts over to Channel 4 or something like that, I'll be able to have a pop. But that is the sort of thing that I ruin shows for myself. I'll watch them and go, hang on, like why could he not go and work for Rourke Industries? Why does he have to work at the Buy More? How is that crucial to his undercover?
It's an undercover thing. People
he worked at the Buy More when they met him. Why can he not get another job? In fact, it's suspicious that he now has a degree from Stanford University
and he
still works
in
the Buy More. He's attracting attention to himself. He should go. Why not? Because well, then we'd have to build another set. That's right. So I ruin things for myself all the time by being picky, and the upside of that is a lot of the time I can turn that into comedy.
Yeah. Let's not talk about films or TV series anymore before I go off everything that I really like. And I know that you've been touring quite a lot with your show.
Yeah.
Do you have to change it where you go? Like, is it like a northern version and a southern version?
Not hugely, to be honest. Sometimes I found when I went back to Ireland, I had to change things, bits and pieces here and there, which is weird as an Irish person. But having lived here half my life and toured the show extensively here, I suddenly realised that there were tiny little references here and there. Like even just words like pikey, it's not a word you use in Ireland, you know.
Do they not know what it means in Ireland?
I don't know what it means, but it's just it doesn't resonate with Irish people, a word like that, and it sounds really English to say it.
So you gotta say gypsy in Ireland.
Yeah, even that. But then there really isn't an equivalent. It's the way that the equivalent is knacker, but knacker is more offensive. Knacker is like
say knacker.
Yeah. As in the knacker's yard, but but in Ireland, for that to be used as say a traveller is a highly offensive and sort of politically charged word. It's a much more complicated thing. So basically, I just dropped a lot of references and a few jokes when I did the show in Ireland. It would have been fine for an English person to do it because they would have gone, well, that's what English people say, and we understand that. But for an Irish person to be using very English references in Ireland seems weird.
Yeah.
So that's why I sort of scrub some bits and pieces. But around the UK, not so much. The only place where on this show where I've really had to overhaul it was in a place called Oamaru in the South Island of New Zealand. And I had done it in Christchurch and Dunedin, which are both also on the South Island of New Zealand, and were fine. Mm-hmm. But I did it in Oamaru, and 10 minutes in, I just had to ditch the show. And
the whole show? You just stopped?
I just stopped doing the routines, and I just dipped into the back catalogue and just did greatest hits. Basically did my first DVD. Yeah. Because they weren't going with it at all. They weren't. I mean, jokes that had worked all over New Zealand, like the joke about we weren't posh, we weren't poor, which means in Ireland we didn't own a horse. And just explain to them, because in Ireland, if you're posh, you can own a horse, or if you live in a caravan, you can own a horse. But anywhere in between, you get a dog. That worked everywhere. And it worked particularly well in Ireland because it resonates. It works well in English, people understand it. But it worked in New Zealand, it worked in Canada. You know, people understand where you're coming from. But it did not work on Oamaru. Oamaru stared at me and said, well, I guess you need to be Irish to get that joke. I was like, no, I think you just need to not be from fucking Oamaru.
Was that your worst gig? I mean, on this current tour?
Of this, yeah, since doing this show, that would be the worst audience. Yeah.
And how do you keep things fresh? Because obviously you've been on the road for quite a while. You're doing the same show day in, day out. I mean, do you just enjoy it every time? Do you add new bits? How do you?
Well, you do. You do add new bits and you change bits and here and there. But I think the main thing is it's like watching a film that you've seen before, but you're watching it with somebody who's not seen it. You know, like if somebody comes over to the house and I'll be like, "Well, you've never seen Midnight Run? We have to watch Midnight Run," even though I've seen it a million times. It's a bit like that. See, I don't know if you go home and you watch Back to the Future on your own. But if you had a friend who had never seen Back to the Future, you'd be delighted to watch it with them.
We get pizza, we get popcorn, exactly. the whole deal.
Yeah, he's like, this is my favourite film. And you watching it with somebody, it's like you're seeing it through their eyes and seeing it anew. And it's just like that when you're doing the same jokes again and again, but you're doing them to people who've not heard them before. So that just keeps it fresh for you.
Okay, cool. And I know that you're just on everywhere on TV at the moment, like panel shows and interview shows and everything. And the one panel show that you're on that really stands out is Mock the Week. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason why it stands out is that it actually seems like people are properly competitive on the show.
It's an incredibly competitive show.
Why are people so competitive?
Well, there's a number of reasons. And I'm quite happy to explain them all to you.
Oh, very good.
Number one, everybody on that show is a stand-up comic. There's no one is there as a celebrity to feel. You know, you look at probably the closest equivalent would be 8 out of 10 Cats, where you got a host and 6 people. They will have Trisha or Richard Madeley or somebody from Hollyoaks or something like that, and so that makes it a slightly less competitive environment. But when you've got 6 comics all vying for attention, 7 including the host, then that makes it a bit more competitive. The other thing is, compared to say something like, "Oh, have I got news for you?" or another great example is "I think it's all over," is that everybody on the show is still, to a great extent, trying to make a name for themselves. These are people who are on the touring circuit, who are still on the up in their career trajectory and trying to sell DVDs and all that. So everyone's still, none of them are household names. And if they are, it's because of Mock the Week. So they're all still trying to make names for themselves. I remember when I did the Think It's All Over, and it was towards the end of its life, and it was really easy because everyone was completely relaxed.
Everyone's really chilled out.
They were all, they were like, they weren't even that bothered about the show. You can almost say it was like the show was a huge success. They were all on really good money, and they were quite happy for me to be funny. So as long as the show was funny, they didn't care. And Have I Got News for You is a little bit like that, in that. Also, is the fact that there's only 4 of you and the host, and the host is generally the most nervous of them all because it's a guest, and so they're quite happy to just give you the space to be funny, because if I'm sitting next to Ian Hislop, he's a household name. Have I Got News for You has been around for 20 years now.
Yeah, I was watching when I was in school.
So he doesn't need to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
But
Mock the Week, you guys are like fighting.
Everybody still is looking to carve out their own, niche, and everyone's looking to make a name for themselves still. So, I know myself, if I go on that show and, don't say a great deal, like people say to me the next day, "Oh, you were a bit quiet on Mock the Week, weren't you?" And so you're still trying to put your stamp on it. I've got a DVD coming out. I got tickets to sell. If I'm going on telly, I gotta be funny. Because the other thing is, if somebody watches it and you're not funny, they go. It's not like if you say something that's not funny and people don't laugh. If you just don't even say anything, people just think, well, he's not very funny. He's obviously not very funny because he didn't say anything. So you need to. It looks bad if you don't get in there with a few jokes.
You're totally right. I saw him Mock the Week yesterday, and Greg Proops was on it, and I've seen him on Whose Line Is It Anyway, and he's so funny on that show, just like really, really funny. But he, in the whole show, I think he might have said maybe like 2 or 3 gags. And I was like, oh, but why is that happening?
But the other thing that can happen as well, and it's happened to me with Mock the Week, and I've learned how to avoid it now, is sometimes say we're doing 3 subjects in the first 10 minutes. Maybe we'll cover, Sarah Palin, global warming, and the Conservative Conference, say. And say I'll have come out with a load of really good stuff on Sarah Palin. So I'll go, right, you know what, I've put my stamp on this now. I think I can coast through this chat about the environment, which I don't really have any stuff on. And then I'll come in with maybe a gag about David Cameron. And then, for one reason or another, because it's a 2.5 hour record, they might just decide, you know what, Sarah Palin's not really that current a story. Let us scrap all the Sarah Palin stuff from the show, and let's just go with the stuff about the environment and David Cameron.
So that might be in your section.
So
and then
the thing that you did most of the stuff on can just get cut out of the show completely. And it's a lot of the time it's they only have so long to edit it. Sometimes it's recorded on the Wednesday to go out on the Thursday. Most times on the Tuesday. But still, they only have so long to edit it. And so it's easier to just cut an entire subject out. It's just easier to just go in and take 10 minutes out of the record and go, let's just scrap all that, than it is to go, well, let's put that joke in from there, and let's put this joke in, and let's put, so that is what can happen. So the best thing to do to make sure you get seen or get used is just think of 1 or 2 funny lines on every single subject that we talk about, and that's what I generally try and do.
Okay, cool. And talking about being seen.
Also, sorry, there are more. There's more. This is something I know a lot about. There's another reason why it's more competitive. It's also the only panel show on TV where they'll ask a question for the entire panel. They never go, so, your team, what do you think first? And then go to the other team.
They just chuck it out there.
It is the only show where they don't do that, which is to me, I think that's its greatest fault. I think that is the thing that's most easily fixed, is to do that thing that every other panel show does, which is go to one team first
and then
go to the other team, and that way you don't have people
trying to kill each other for the mic. Yeah. Okay, and talking about being seen. I think you're great. I think you're like one of Britain's like best comedians. And I'm just...
There's something nasty coming there. Nobody just starts out with, I think you're great. Unless...
That's the soft part.
I can take it. What is it?
Yeah, so you've never been like a nobody. Like when you started your stand-up career, you had success pretty quickly. But you've never like made it like really big. Like, Adam Sandler or like, Russell Brand did a couple of years ago.
Sure.
You've just kind of like been like in between.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of wondering why, because you're really good and you're really funny.
Well, if I knew the answer to that, I would be really famous. There is a certain amount of luck involved, and to be honest with you, I'm funnier now than I ever have been. So it's only fair that things are on the up again.
Yeah.
I did kind of around about sort of 99, 2000. Like I had a fairly steady rise from I started at the end of 93, and then I had a fairly steady rise about 98, and then 99, 2000. I think it kind of leveled off.
Mm.
And I just, I burnt out ever so slightly, and I just sort of hit me head on the ceiling of my own talent. I didn't have anything much else to say about stuff.
Mm.
And that was about it, really. I just sort of stagnated a little bit. I didn't really improve as a comic, and I reached that stage where I was no longer new.
Mm.
And being new is a help. Being new is one of the most exciting new comics. When you're new, you're only compared to the other people who are new. But once you've been around for 10 years, then you're competing with the best comics in the world. Then you're being compared to, you're having to stand compared with Billy Connolly, Frank Skinner, whoever the biggest comic Eddie is, the biggest comic ever. Suddenly, you're. And you're not gonna compete with that.
Mm.
I certainly don't think I do anyway. So,
well,
that, you know what I mean? It's one thing. It's one thing to be compared to your actual contemporaries. But as I say, once you've been around for 10 years, it's no longer about that. You're playing with the big boys, I suppose. So that it's those things combined, And maybe I made some poor choices as regards what TV shows I did or didn't do and things like that, But I think really what it came down to was just I ran out of things to say in my stand-up.
Mm.
And now as I've gotten older, and I took a year or two off, I suddenly more things to say. And it's gratifying. I haven't been a comedian for 16 years to feel that I'm still, getting better.
Mm. So if you had a DeLorean. Back to Future, and you could like go back in time, and you could like have a word with yourself when that happened. Would you do anything different? Would you say do this or do that?
No, I think if I went back in time, I would just take a lot of the jokes I'm doing now and do them around 2001 when we started slacking off a little bit. I probably also would have told myself not to book myself in for a 2-week West End run opening on Monday the 10th of September 2001. I would have told myself that is a bad time to be doing comedy.
Yeah, bad timing.
It's terrible when you bring up something that somebody isn't their proudest moment. I was talking about Star Trek again. You remember Star Trek 2? Star Trek was Wrath of Khan.
I loved it, the classic.
Right, that was great. And remember Chekhov and this other guy got these things put in their ears.
The little slugs when they're in Khan's little hut.
It was Chekhov, and I can't remember the guy's name. It was a big, tall, black guy. Was the captain in question. And I was in Aspen for the comedy festival, and I was checking in for my flight home, and he was standing behind me in the queue for check-in.
No.
This guy who played this captain, and for those who don't know what happened, he's under control of Khan to shoot Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
And at the last minute, this is what a dude he is. He turns the phaser on himself and kills himself, right? Which is a very cool thing for him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I see this guy, and he's done loads of stuff. I'm sure he's done Shakespearean gear and all that, and he's done things of great worthy and great note. But I'd just seen Wrath of Khan again recently, and I said, "Wow, you're an actor, aren't you?" And he goes, "Yes." I go, "Weren't you in Wrath of Khan?" And he looked away into the middle distance and really, really pissed off went, "Yes, I died so the white man could live." What is the white man? Captain fucking Kirk!
That's pretty cheeky. I've just got a few rapid fire questions to finish off with. So just like first, quick, straight, quick answers. So, ready?
Yeah.
First question, polo or cement?
Polo.
Complete this line. If I was to rule the world, I would...
Be overwhelmed by the responsibility.
Describe Piers Morgan in just one word.
Arsehole.
It's two, isn't it?
That's technically, well, okay, arsehole is one. Well,
Yeah.
okay, well, if we do... Arse, then.
Arse. Okay, good. Old people falling over, tragic or funny?
Very, difficult, depending whether you're related to them or not. But generally, I'm going to go with funny.
Funny. Dara O'Brien or a packet of Jaffa cakes?
Well, it's pronounced O'Brien.
O'Brien.
But, well, I couldn't eat Dara O'Brien.
No.
So I'm going to go with Jaffa Cakes.
Jaffa. Roast beef or roast lamb?
Roast lamb.
Best thing about being married?
Not having to plan a wedding anymore.
Dr. Quinn or Doctor Who?
Doctor Who.
Mr. Pop or Guess Who?
Guess Who?
David Cameron or cup of soup?
I need more than that. What is the actual question?
Just choose one.
I would drink a cup of soup.
So you would choose cup of soup?
I wouldn't vote for cup of soup to be the next Prime Minister. But nor would I dip my bread in David Cameron.
Okay,
So
very
it's,
good.
It's a tricky one.
That's a tricky one. So, thank you very much. I'd love to know your thoughts on that video, so give me a mark out of 10. 10 being great, 0 being rubbish. What do you think this video scored? Leave me a comment in the comment box below.
Subscribe to Kevin's channel. What you... Subscribe. We need you to subscribe. You don't. No, we don't. He does.